The Doctor of Discernment is on the air.
More than half the women in my administration are women.
It's time that everybody wake up and pay attention.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense, no prescription required.
President Biden's approval rating ranks right up there with jock itch.
Come on, man. Give me a little break here.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
I don't believe in a no-win scenario.
This is the Greg Belfridge Show.
Would you give Bud Light another chance? Donald Trump says you should. I'd love to hear from you. 605-336-1320, especially you're a beer drinker. If you're a beer drinker, would you give Bud Light another chance? 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. 605-336-1320. Donald Trump said that Anheuser-Busch is not a woke company. He said this the other day on Truth Social. And I went to Trump's Truth Social account because I was going to scan back. I'm like, oh, this is just a couple of days ago. It'll be easy to scan back. Oh, my God. He had so many feeds in the last. I could go back about 24 hours, maybe a little over 24 hours, and then that's as far back as I could go. So Donald Trump says Anheuser-Busch, this is what he said the other day. He said Anheuser-Busch is not a woke company. And he said that Anheuser-Busch has already paid a very big price for Bud Light's ad with Dylan Mulvaney. And he said, it's time to move on from outrage over the ads. And he said it was a mistake of epic proportions, Trump said. But then he said that Anheuser-Busch spends $700 million a year with our great farmers and employs 65,000 Americans. So Trump urged his followers to give Bud Light a second chance and to shun other companies that he said are looking to destroy America. And I thought, I'm not a Bud Light drinker. I'm not a beer drinker, period. I do not drink beer. So for me, and I said this during the whole Bud Light controversy, for me personally, it was never really an issue. But I would love to hear from you and get your thoughts. Phone lines are open, 605-336-1320. We're going to start with Vicki. Good morning, Vicki. You're on, Kello.
Yeah, good morning.
Hi.
I wouldn't give them a second chance, but not because of what President Trump was saying. It's because I switched to Blue Moon and I like it better. And it was the whole Dylan thing that made me switch, but I like Blue Moon, so I probably wouldn't go back for that reason.
You know what? And you have articulated exactly what I wondered, because I wondered, folks have found new brands that they like. I've been curious to know, would people be willing? It's like, hey, maybe you found something you liked better than Bud Light.
I did.
All right.
So, but, I might not shun them now if that was my only choice.
Well, and some are getting rough with Trump over this whole thing, going after Trump. I mean, are you angry at Trump that he's saying give Bud Light another chance?
Never. I would never be angry at Trump. He always has America first, and he explains his reasoning very well.
Exactly right. I feel very much the same way. Vicki, thanks for your thoughts, my friend. Good to hear from you. 605-336-1320. Would you give Bud Light another chance? Again, someone like me doesn't drink beer. It's not really an issue. But Trump said to those who had given up on Bud Light, you ought to give them another chance. Art, good morning. You're on, Kello.
Morning.
Hey, buddy.
We're not heavy beer drinkers, my wife and I. On occasion, Bud Light's no longer a choice for us. We found better stuff, too. I like Michelob Light. We like Miller High Life. those are our go-tos now. We kind of, sorry about that, but Anheuser-Busch gets support from us through Michelob.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So for you, it wasn't enough to, many said you got to boycott Anheuser-Busch. You kept the money in the family, but not Bud Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. I always thought Michelob was a better beer too, Art. So I appreciate your call. Thanks, my friend. Good morning, Greg. You're on Kello. Oh, excuse me. It's Josh. Hi, Josh.
Hey, my name isn't Greg.
I messed up here.
Hey, well, we need to find out your motivations here. You don't drink beer. You're an all-American broadcaster. Come on.
Who said I was an all-American broadcaster? Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well,
I drink whiskey, and my favorite whiskeys are made here in America, baby.
I'm just kidding you. I've never been much for boycotting things unless it's a very evil or something. Of course, that doesn't good. Beer is for I could drink any brand probably and not matter as long as I'm having fun with somebody. It's all about just something to, socializing, communicating, and all that. It's not about what brand you have. And I think Peyton Manning beat him to the punch, though. Peyton Manning was, buying around for the house, on TV, on the commercial. And there's a few of these guys, they're probably getting mega bucks for helping Bud come back. But I
haven't seen their numbers recently. There for a while, there was a lot of attention on Bud Light's numbers, and their numbers were falling and falling and falling and falling. I haven't seen that now for a number of months, so I don't know how they're doing nationally, but they took a tremendous hit.
I am sure they did, because there one place I walked in one time, I was going to get a couple beers from me and a friend, and everything was, the Bud Light was all over the place. Everything else was, going down in numbers. But there's plenty of Bud Light on there. But anyway.
Well, thanks for weighing in, Josh. Always good to talk to you, buddy. 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. So Donald Trump said that Anheuser-Busch is not a woke company, he said, and they'd already paid a very big price for that Bud Light, campaign and the Dylan Mulvaney and all of that. So Trump called it a mistake of epic proportions, but he said that Anheuser-Busch spends $700 million a year with our great farmers, which is something to keep in mind, I think, and employs 65,000 Americans. So he said that he was asking people to give Bud Light a second chance. And so then, my reaction is, would you give them a second chance? Doug, good morning. You're on, Kello. You're on, Doug. It's your moment.
Hey, it's fairly obvious that Donald Trump has never had a good cold bottle of Grain Belt. I don't think Bud Light will ever come back to recover whatever they lost in this campaign they thought was going to be really good for them.
Yeah.
But I think they will recover some, but I don't think they'll be at the status where they were when this all began.
And I've got to agree with you. And it's like Vicky, our first caller, said, she found a beer she likes better. She has no intention of going back now, and you've got to believe that's probably true for a good number of people.
Yeah. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. We didn't have Bud Light. We had to drink the good stuff, Hams, Grain Belt, Schlitz.
I drank a little bit of Schlitz myself in the old days.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, they'll recover some, Greg, but I just don't think they will be back to the status that they had before this all started.
So do you blame Trump for saying that folks ought to give them another chance? Because some are angry at Trump.
Yeah, well, that's how people are. I mean, and he's right about the farmers. Where do they get their grain?
Yep.
I mean, the guy's not stupid. I mean, he researches what he says.
Great point. Doug, I'm glad you called. Thanks for your thoughts, buddy. 605. Phone lines are open right now. It's a great time to call. 605-336-1320. 605-336-1320. And I'm curious, again, Donald Trump saying folks ought to give Bud Light a second chance. They're not a woke company. And I'm wondering two things. Would you give them another chance? And are you at all angry with Trump for saying you should consider giving them a second chance? Because some people are. They're shooting back at Donald Trump. So let's get your reaction. John, good morning. You're on Kello.
Good morning, Greg.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, I never did drink Bud Light, but I never stopped drinking Bud.
I got you.
Just couldn't follow along with the whole crowd on that kind of crap. I don't believe in that.
Boycotting companies?
Yeah, there's reasons to boycott, serious reasons. But just because they come out with some stupid commercial? No. And good for Trump for backing Bud Light and backing our farmers and hang in there. They'll never get back to where they were, but they'll get back. We're forgiving people.
Hey, there you go. John, thanks, my friend. Always good to hear from you. Good morning, Denny. You're on, Kello.
Oh, good morning, Greg. Yeah, I drink gallons of beer, and I drink Michelob Ultra, which is a Budweiser product.
Yep.
But, I did drink a lot of Bud Light, and I think the problem there was basically the upper management on there. All the CEOs had to do is come back and say, God, we made a mistake. Our clients are the blue collar guys, the tough guys. We kind of lost track here, and we've got that wokeness out of it, and we apologize and have a cold Bud Light, because I think they did go woke, and I think they got caught. But I agree with Trump. It's enough. They learned their lesson. They took a several billion-dollar bang on it, and hopefully they learned their lesson, and management finds out that, these guys do have some power. So I think the point's been made, and I think we should go back to Bud Light and support our farmers.
Hey, well said. Denny, thanks so much for your thoughts and your call. I appreciate it. Phone lines are open, 605-336-1320. Good morning, Carol. You're on Kello.
Good morning. I am not a beer drinker, so it's not going to make any difference to me, but I do question why he's saying something now, because he has a Bud Light lobbyist that's throwing a fundraiser for him. And did he mention that when he was talking about you should go back to Bud Light for all these reasons? It's sometimes you got to follow the money. And has Budweiser really changed their way of thinking? And if they haven't, there's no way it would go back to drinking their beer or any of the other companies that go in the face of conservative principles. I'm not going to be bought.
All right. You couldn't be any clearer than that. Good morning, Dave. You're on Kello.
Good morning. I'm not a drinker, but this whole economic issue about our farmers being hurt, all the millions of dollars, well, if Bud Light's not buying those grains, it's another beer company buying those grains. So I don't think if people are drinking the same amount of beer, I think the grain issue is it's a mute issue.
I see what you mean. If that would not be a compelling reason. It's like, okay, just other beer companies now are taking that grain that Budweiser would have.
Yes, so economically, I don't think it's a valid argument.
Okay, fair enough. What were you ever? And I think you said you weren't, that you didn't boycott. You don't drink beer, so it was not an issue for you.
It's not an issue. I don't drink,
in terms of totally understood. So with Trump bringing this up, what's your reaction to that? Because we just heard from Carol, who was saying Trump's got a lobbyist who's got ties to Budweiser. What do you think of Trump for urging people to give Bud Light another chance?
Well, one thing that people like about Trump, he does speak his mind. And so, just because I disagree with on the economic issue with Trump doesn't mean I'm going to say, oh, Trump's no good. But, he speaks his opinion. I don't have to always agree with that. I think the economic issue is not an issue. So, therefore, I don't think it's an event with me and Trump at all. All
right. Hey, Dave, thanks for your clear thinking. I really appreciate the call and your thoughts. Phone lines are open, 605-336-1320. Bob, good morning. You're on Kello.
Hey, good morning.
Hi.
Well, I might be disagreeing with the rest of, or a lot of your callers, but I'm still a definite no on any Budweiser product.
No, understood. And was it the whole Dylan Mulvaney thing that caused you to say no in the first place?
It certainly was, but with some further research, and I might not have my facts straight, so maybe other callers would hear me and correct me, but I think Budweiser was also involved with a woke-related lawsuit where they were implementing DEI policies. And I think one of the lawsuits, if I got my facts straight, had to do with white people suing because the promotion program that they had established for management development excluded anybody white. So you had to be a certain color or a certain sexual orientation or something like that before you could get into the management development program.
That issue of DEI, Bob, is really makes my skin crawl, be honest with you. The things that are going on in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion, really kind of troubling stuff. So I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, so it bothers me too. That was my point. May not have my facts straight. I need to do some more research, and maybe your callers have more information.
Well, I appreciate that. As far as Trump then telling, his supporters to give Bud Light another chance, how do you react to that?
Well, I love Trump. I'll vote for him regardless, but I think he could be wrong on this issue.
Yeah, I totally understand what you mean. I'm like, this is what he's saying. I disagree. No big deal. No big deal. Agreed. Because what I care about is the economy, the border, all of that stuff. Hey, Bob, thanks for the call. Good morning, Clint. You're on Kello.
Hey, good morning, Greg.
Hey, what's your take on this, buddy?
Well, I would have a list of requirements before I would go back to Budweiser.
Well, of course you would.
Because, every step along the way, they just would do a little bit.
Yes.
And it just made me just sick to my stomach. I just cannot even, So
you wouldn't go back, like a lot of other callers are saying. You wouldn't go back.
No, they would have to show that they actually fired those people. They would have to publicly have a press conference, apologize to the American people for getting involved in this stance, for getting involved in politics, period. Their job is to make beer and make money for their shareholders. No one cares about their politics. That's the thing that is just driving me crazy in this country now, is that. And I'm just sick and tired, just like Disney. I love Disney, and at every point of the day, I'm like, I hate you. You just killed this. And it's just so angry.
Understood. Don't let that stuff get to you, because when I find myself in that kind of mood, it's like, no, I got to take a step back, and I got to, lots of great things that are going on out there. Because once you start down that path, it's a rocky road. Hey, Clint, thanks for the call. I want to get Bob's thoughts here too. Good morning, Bob. You're on Kello.
Well, good morning. Glad to be with you.
Good to hear from you. What's your take on this, Bob? What are you thinking?
I'm not going to go back to drinking Budweiser. I never did like Bud Light, but I drank Budweiser sometimes. I'm not going to drink Mexican beer. I'm not going to drink anything that I have to use a can opener to open either of those yuppie beers. We're down home country people out here, and I think we should support America stuff.
Like Green Mountain.
Period. And then also, I was just got tail into the one guy that didn't agree with Trump's economic policies. I don't know where he's been. He must have had his head under a pillow. The whole world is on fire because of the guy we got in there, and it's a lot of this same stuff with our beer and everything else. I've said it. That's all I need to say.
Hey, Bob, you said it very clearly, very plainly, and I'm glad you called. Thank you, my friend. I always love hearing from all of you, so very much appreciated.